The Langley house stood alone, a spectre at the edge of town. Its paint was peeling, its windows were like vacant eyes. The yard was overgrown and neglected. No one dared to touch it. It was a place of whispers and fear, a constant reminder of a tragedy that had shaken the town decades ago. The house was built in 1785. It had seen generations come and go, but it was the Langleys who left an indelible mark. They had moved in during the roaring 20s, full of life and laughter. Their joy seemed to radiate through the old home. Then, one cold November night, it all stopped. Silence fell upon the house, a silence that would linger for years to come. The townsfolk stayed away. A palpable sense of dread clung to the house. They spoke in hushed tones about the Langleys, their unsolved deaths, their restless spirits. The house remained untouched, a monument to a forgotten family, and a chilling reminder that some secrets are best left buried. The Langleys were a picture-perfect family. John Langley was a successful businessman. His wife Eleanor was known for her kindness and grace. They had two beautiful children, Thomas, a bright and curious boy of 10, and little Alice, known for her infectious laughter. They were the envy of the town. Their happiness was infectious. They hosted lavish parties. Their laughter echoed through the halls. The house was alive with warmth and love. John was a pillar of the community, always willing to lend a hand. Eleanor was a beacon of hope, her charity work known throughout the county. They were a shining example of prosperity and virtue. Then tragedy struck. On a night much like any other, the unthinkable happened. The Langleys were found dead in their home. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle, no explanation. The authorities were baffled. Whispers of murder-suicide spread like wildfire, but no evidence supported these claims. The tragedy shook the town to its core. How could a family so full of life vanish overnight? Theories abounded. Some whispered of a family curse. Others spoke of a dark secret that the Langleys had tried to hide. The truth remained elusive. The house stood silent, its windows dark and empty. No laughter echoed from within. The once vibrant home was now a tomb, a haunting reminder of the family lost. People claimed to see lights flickering inside, unexplained noises, shadows moving in the dead of night. Children whispered tales of the Langley house, daring each other to approach its creaky porch, to peek inside its darkened windows. But few dared to get too close. The house held an unsettling power. It was as if the tragedy had seeped into its very walls, leaving an imprint of sorrow and despair. Tommy Reynolds was known for his adventurous spirit, a little too adventurous, some might say. He was never one to back down from a dare. So when his friends dared him to spend a night in the Langley house, he didn't hesitate. He scoffed at their warnings about ghosts and curses. The night was dark. A chill wind howled through the trees. Tommy approached the house with a mix of bravado and trepidation. He took a deep breath and pushed open the creaky gate. The rusted hinges groaned in protest, as if warning him to turn back. He climbed the steps to the porch. Each step creaked under his weight. He could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. He raised his fist and knocked on the old oak door. The sound echoed through the house. Silence followed. He tried the doorknob. To his surprise, it turned. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air inside was heavy and still, thick with the scent of dust and decay. Cobwebs hung from every corner. The only light came from the moonbeams filtering through the grimy windows. He pulled out his flashlight and shone it around. The beam danced over dusty furniture and cobweb-covered portraits. He wandered through the house, his heart pounding in his chest. He peeked into each room, each one frozen in time, as if the family had just stepped out. He saw the dining table set for a meal never eaten. toys scattered across the floor of the children's room, a half-finished knitting project draped over the arm of a chair. He reached the top of the grand staircase. He could feel a presence here, a coldness that sent shivers down his spine. He shone his flashlight down the hallway, his breath caught in his throat. At the end of the hall he saw a faint light. It flickered like a candle flame. He stood frozen, unsure whether to advance or to turn and run. Curiosity outweighed his fear. He crept down the hallway, his footsteps silent on the thick carpet. The flickering light grew stronger as he approached. He reached the end of the hallway and peered into the room. It was the master bedroom. The source of the light was a fireplace. A fire blazed merrily, casting dancing shadows on the walls. He took a step back, his mind struggling to grasp what he was seeing. How could a fire be lit in an abandoned house? That's when he saw them, sitting in armchairs by the fire. Two figures, a man and a woman. They were dressed in the fashion of a bygone era, their faces obscured by the shadows. They turned to look at him. Their eyes glowed with an eerie light. Tommy gasped and stumbled backward. He tripped and fell, his flashlight clattering across the floor. He scrambled to his feet and ran. The figures rose from their chairs and glided towards him. Their voices, cold and hollow, echoed through the house. They were calling his name. Tommy burst out of the house and into the night. He didn't stop running until he reached the safety of his own home. He flung himself into his bed, pulling the covers over his head, the screams of the Langleys echoing in his ears. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Tommy's parents found him huddled in his bed, his eyes wide with terror. He was mumbling incoherently, unable to tell them what had happened. They rushed him to the hospital, but the doctors could find nothing physically wrong with him. They diagnosed him with severe shock. The news of Tommy's experience spread through the town like wildfire. Some dismissed it as a child's overactive imagination. Others weren't so sure. They remembered the stories, the whispers, the warnings. The Langley house had claimed another victim, but this time it wasn't a life that was taken. It was a mind. Tommy remained in the hospital for weeks. He refused to speak about what he had seen. His once bright eyes were now clouded with fear. He was a shadow of his former self. His parents were devastated. They blamed themselves for not believing the stories, for not protecting their son. A child psychologist was brought in to help Tommy. He spent hours with her, drawing pictures and playing with toys. Slowly he began to open up. He spoke of the ghostly figures he had encountered, their hollow voices, their cold, empty eyes. The psychologist listened patiently, offering comfort and reassurance. She explained that what Tommy had experienced was a common reaction to trauma, that his mind was trying to make sense of something it couldn't understand. She encouraged him to talk about his fears, to confront the memories that haunted him. Tommy eventually returned home, but he was forever changed. He never spoke of his experience at the Langley house again, but the fear remained, lingering in his eyes, haunting his dreams. He avoided the old house at the edge of town, never again daring to tempt fate. The Langley house still stands, a chilling reminder of the tragedy that unfolded within its walls, a testament to the power of fear and the enduring nature of the unknown. Some stories are meant to be whispered, some doors are meant to remain closed, and some secrets are best left buried with the dead.